Hey friends, it's Joe Carrell here in Nashville, Tennessee. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for having me on the Produce Like a Pro channel. Very honored to be here, very honored to be with you guys. What I would like to talk about today for my very first video with you guys is vocals. There's a really good reason for that, right? That's the most important element in most of the songs that we're gonna mix. It's gonna ensure our income, right? How we handle vocals, and if that artist wants us again, you request us again because their vocals sounded great, it's a big part of our daily, chores as a mixer. But there's a lot of videos about vocals out there, but I don't feel like there's a lot of videos that go into detail on group vocal blends. Because a lot of what we're going to work on in our career, or a lot of us anyway, is a lot of different genres where there's different expectations, and not just a solo, right? Here's a soloist and here's our background vocals, done. Not always. Sometimes it's a group and everyone in that group is a star. And depending on the genre, the lead vocal, yeah, it's center stage and it's out front. But those background vocals, if their face is on the album cover and they're officially a duo or a trio or a quartet, they have to be heard too. And not just, set it and forget it. Like we have to dig in. We have to get, it's more than the tools we use. And we'll go through the tools. But beyond that, it's the effort that we put in. I remember when I first got started in this business, with a Mackie and ADATs back in the 90s, you get that level, and that's where the fader sets, right? And where we're like, man, that sounds killer. The first time I got into a studio with an established pro and watch him work, he was a guy that was working on major country and gospel hits in Nashville back in the 70s and 80s, and watching his attention to detail blew my mind. I did not know that level of craftsmanship even existed in this industry. And that's kind of what I want to get through to you guys today. The tools are fun. And again, we will talk about them. But more than that, it's these, right? It's the faders, it's the mouse, and the attention, putting the time and effort into making sure that in this case, it's a trio. It needs to sound like a chord from the top of the chorus to the bottom of the chorus. It's got to be a chord. They know what they sang. The vocal arranger, if they are also the producer, they want to hear that chord consistently. It's not a set it and forget it situation. So beyond all of that speaking, let's go ahead and take a little bit of listen to today's track. And this is my good friends, the Lost Saints. They are an independent country trio here in Nashville. Great blend. Two guys and a girl. Derek is on the lead on this song. So you'll notice that he is clearly center stage through the whole thing, but the other two are right there with him every note. Okay, so let's give it a listen. And I'll let it run through the whole chorus, kind of get into the next section where Derek sings by himself, because that's one of the points I want to get to. Ready?
'Cause I've let pain drive this car for way too long, and I've let heartbreak choose the soundtrack, but I'm getting tired. Tell me how to move on. I'm gonna move on with a new set of reasons.
That's country music for you. That message, man, hitting. All right. So beyond the song, you probably noticed, that Derek, he's out front. It's country music. That story, man. We're telling a story. It's out there. But note for note, the background vocals, the harmony parts are hanging right with him, and they're prominently loud. This is not a background vocal thing. It is a trio, and you'll see in the well, first of all, look at the degree of automation that I did to get that, that consistent chord. And you'll see as soon as they stop singing, boom, Derek comes back up, because it's about where the whole package sets within the mix, not any one person at a time. We'll get into that, but let's talk about the tools real quick. And you'll see on Derek, I've got him split into two tracks. I've got a verse as well as a chorus, because he's singing in completely different registers. But tool-wise, one of my first plugins that I like to use is a multiband compressor if I'm not using any type of saturation or tape or anything like that. And let's just bypass here these plugins, and I'll let Derek sing to you guys.
with a new set of reasons.
So you'll see it's just kind of tucking, here and there, pushing some things back to even out the tone. The way I look at the multiband compression on a vocal as my first step is sometimes you'll see this lower band is set to like 200, 250, 300 cycles. Is, when they dip down in a register like that and then come back up, I'm pushing down that bottom end to make it a little more consistent. When they really get screamy and belty, that upper mid band, is pushing against it to where the tone stays thicker. You can even use that top band, as a de-esser a little bit if you want to, in this first stage, to achieve that. And then I'm following that with EQ. And you'll see that I've got the same chain on each singer because I'm trying to create a package, that works together as a trio. If it was a background vocal situation, I would use different compressors very likely, or at least different release times. But this is more than just normal background vocals. You'll see, just standard stuff, a little bit of a dip around the low mids, as well as adding a little bit of air to the top. But one thing that I do, especially when I'm working on group vocals that I want to get to is, there's going to be somewhere in that band between 500, that octave, 500 and 1000. There's going to be something that's a little ugly. And that as the singers build up, that band, that octave just has a thing. So what I like to do, rather than treat it as a whole, is treat it per singer. You'll see on Derek here on lead, I'm notching just a real narrow notch at 684 cycles, 3 dB, super tight Q, and it's basically a notch filter. And if we move over to Afton, you'll see that her vocal is notched at, where is it, 320, no, I'm sorry, 543, so just below his. And then you'll see that Chris, his notch is at 785. And again, it's just, his is a dB and a half with a Q of 8. So this is just very narrow cuts that makes that octave add up a little more pretty as a package, okay? So that's the reasoning there. And you'll see I'm not copying the same EQ. I'm creating a blend between the vocalists. As I click on, from EQ to EQ, the curve, the dip points, the amount of high boost that I'm using is different. And on Afton, for example, she's got a very edgy, bright voice. I'm using a little tape saturation to kind of help tame some of that, right? In a lot of genres, especially aggressive modern genres, whether that be pop, rock, modern country, a lot of times my next step is a compressor that kind of floats, is what I like to call it. There's not a definite threshold with a definite, gain reduction. It just kind of is leveling globally from word to word, just doing its thing. RVOX is one of them that I really like for that. Less aggressive music, I like the MV2 from Waves. Both of those are from Waves. And let me show you how much compression I'm getting on him.
'Cause I've let pain drive this car for way too long.
So it looks like 5 to 7 dB of compression. And that is not based on any kind of magic number. That is based on this. What am I given, right? What do I receive? How compressed is it? You can see the background vocals here were pretty dynamic. I can hear that there's a compressor on them, but it's not doing a lot of heavy lifting. So most of that's going to be up to me in the mix. But other times we'll get a song and the vocals are just hammered. So the amount of compression we're going to use, is going to vary every song. So don't let those numbers mean anything other than just what's right for the song. So let's pull up the next compressor. A lot of times what I like to do is an 1176 in modern music. This is the Universal Audio Black. And it's 4-to-1. You'll see the attack time's reasonably fast, over here on the 5. And the release time, it's at 5 as well. All those change every song, literally every song. There is no set it and forget it for me. And this is what this piece is doing.
'Cause I've let pain drive this car for way too long.
So it's bouncing around from 3 to 7. So between the two, I'm getting, 8 up to 14 dB of compression. So a decent amount. And then, you'll see that because this is a trio and I want them to sound like a cohesive unit, you'll see that I've got the same settings on all 3 vocalists. Again, if they were background singers, I'd do something different, but that I'm trying to create a different thing here. A little bit of de-essing here with the McDSP. And then here's a little trick, and I do this last in the chain. I know, technically I could do this up here at this stage. I could make a little notch, but the problem is that's prior to all my compressors and stuff. So now that we've kind of got our packaged, vocal squished down to where we want it. That's when I'm going to apply my de-essing, because I'm not going to enhance the S's anymore with any high-end frequency, addition. And now I know exactly where I need the S's to set, so I'm going to come in now generally. And then the very last thing I want to talk about is this piece right here. And I know technically you can do that honky 2K region, for example, on a vocal. I can do that earlier in the process on this KIRCHOFF up here from Plug-in Alliance. But what the thing is, as I compress it, it's reducing the effect. So now that I've got, hey, this is my ground floor. I know where everything's going to live. A lot of times what I'll do, especially in music where I'm going to be adding a lot of vocals, is I'll find something in that 2K range, again, that as they add up as a trio, just isn't great. It isn't pretty. So what I'll do is I'll cut a couple dB of it using this Wave C1 here. Let me show you. This is the band for Derek. It looks like we're going just above 2K.
'Cause I've let pain drive this car for way too long.
And you see it's just very minor. It's a very minor amount. But I've got that on all three of them as they are adding up. With Afton, she's 1,950 cycles. And on Chris, we are at, where is he at? 1,200 cycles. Well, let's see how much we're doing on each one of them. All right. This is Chris, the low male voice.
'Cause I've let pain drive this car.
And here's Afton.
'Cause I've let pain drive.
So it's just a minor amount, but as all three of those are accumulating together, it's making it just a little prettier through that range. And you'll see I do have a little parallel compression on Derek. It's a way of separating the lead just a touch, because I still want him center stage. I just want them barely behind him, flanking him left and right, just a little bit. And all that is hitting a group master. You'll see here there. It looks like I had the harmonic distortion turned completely off. I know they tracked it with a Neve preamp, and I could hear enough harmonic content. And then that whole package is being sent to this.
'Cause I've let pain drive this car for way.
Okay, and that's just a couple of dB of compression, but it's just locking down the group as a whole. It only takes a couple dB of compression for me to take a group of something and just kind of make it sound like it's a package, right? It belongs together, and that's all I'm trying to achieve here. And that's followed by the Moog EQ here with just a couple, about 4 dB at 40,000 cycles. I know that sounds insane if you're not familiar with this piece, but 40,000 cycles on this unit is such a broad lift that even down in the audible range, you're hearing it. It's affecting. That curve is still audible. So a little bit of extra polish up there, and then apparently at the end of the process, because I don't always do this by any means, I thought they were still a little thick compared to the track, and rather than go in and adjust the mid-range the lower mid-range on each vocal, I brought up GULLFOSS here. It looks like from around about 200 cycles up to around 1,500 cycles, and set the tame to about 10%. So it's just kind of gently, intelligently riding, with the EQ curve, that's built into this thing.
'Cause I've let pain drive this car for way too long.
Okay, and one more thing I want to talk about tool-wise, and that is the two harmony part singers are routed to an additional aux here. Instead of going directly to the vocal master, there's one extra step. Even though I'm trying to tie them together, I do want the melody, the lead vocal, to pop just a little bit more here and there. So you can achieve that a couple different ways. Just adjust the release time, of course, on each compressor. But a thing that I like to do is take the harmony parts and put them into one aux and come with an SSL on the fast attack setting and just trim just a little bit, and that way, you know, on music like this, which can be more dynamic than say a heavy rock song, the lead vocal pops on the attack of certain words and stuff just a little bit more, and your attention is drawn to him. Even though we have a consistent chord, your attention is somewhat directed towards the melody line, to the, you know, the guy that's center stage. Okay. All right, that's enough of tools. Let's get into technique. This is where I think, after watching the story I told you earlier about watching that professional do what he did in my early days, this is what I think of as separating the boys from the men. This is, you know, what's going to make a professional get the job versus somebody that's more of a hobbyist. And I know you guys are watching this because you want the job. You want your songs to be great. And that equals hours in this chair, putting in whatever effort is needed. You know, we're not trying to rush this mix to see how much money we can make per hour. We're trying to make this song great, you know, and that's what's going to get us song number 2, song number 3, the next album, the next artist that hears this, that calls you up. Hey, you mixed that Lost Saints song, right? I dig that. Can you do, I've got a duo and I want the job, I want you to do it. Send it my way, right? So attention to detail. If you look at here, this is what it's taking beyond compression. Compression isn't going to get me where I want to go. It's part of it. But this is what's getting me where I want to go. So what I want to do here is, I don't want to be scared. I just want to wipe all that automation and show you what I would do if I was mixing this, you know, in real time right now. Let me put some static levels on the blend here, and we'll go from there.
'Cause I let pain drive this car away.
Okay, that's not quite loud enough, which is perfect, right? Because remember, we have 3 singers right here. So I'm going to automate Derek as if he was the lead singer at a consistent level, but it's going to be tucked down just a little, because as we add layers of vocals, it's going to get louder and louder. So now let's bring in Afton.
'Cause I let pain drive this car way too long.
Okay, and now let's bring in Derek.
'Cause I let pain drive this car way too long.
I said Derek, forgive me, that's Chris singing right there. Okay, so that's going to be a decent starting spot for me. Now, what I want to do is, the melody is still the star, even though it's a trio, that the melody is still the star. So I would take and I would put Pro Tools in continuous scrolling mode so I can see what's coming up. Pop the knuckles. Hear that? Pop the knuckles one time. Get my hand on an actual fader or a mouse, whatever you have. And this is where we're gonna really dive in. Ready?
Out of time. 'Cause I let pain drive this car way too long. Let pain drive this car way too long. And I let heartbreak choose the soundtrack, but I'm getting tired. And I let heartbreak choose the soundtrack, but I'm getting tired of sad songs playing on repeat, on repeat.
That's, I think, enough for the purpose of our demo. Now I'm going to take it out of scrolling mode. Okay, so that's not enough for me. That level of detail is not enough. Now I'm going to go in word by word with a breakpoint, and I'm going to make it even better.
'Cause I let pain drive this car way too long. And I let heartbreak choose the soundtrack, but I'm getting tired of sad songs playing on repeat.
Okay, that's far enough, I think. Now let's unmute Afton. Let's take him, put him in read. Here we go.
'Cause I let pain, 'cause I let pain drive this car way too long. And 'cause I let pain drive this car way too long. And I let heartbreak choose the soundtrack, but I'm getting.
Let's hear that. All right there.
And I let heartbreak
Okay, so he's really loud there, but I mean, it needs to be. You know, that's the big moments. So I'm going to turn her up to where her note can be heard to create the chord.
And I let heartbreak choose the soundtrack, but I'm getting tired of sad songs playing on.
Okay, that's probably far enough for the purpose of our demo.
And I let heartbreak choose the soundtrack, but I'm getting tired
Yeah,
of.
now let's mute her because I want to focus on one part of the chord at a time against the melody. The melody is always going to be in there.
'Cause I've let pain drive this car for way too long.
This car need to come up on his note.
'Cause I've let pain drive this car for way too long. And I've let.
Same thing when Derek, the lead part, is really gunning on that word I. We're gonna have to turn up the background vocals. Yes, and we're pushing into that bus compressor, remember.
'Cause I've let pain drive this car for way too long. And I've let heartbreak choose the soundtrack.
The word break, just that one word break.
Let heartbreak choose.
It's popped just a little too much. It's that details what's gonna get you the gig.
Let heartbreak choose the soundtrack, but I'm getting tired.
And on track, he kind of releases off of it in a really cool way. I noticed that up here too. So let's pull those moments up.
Let heartbreak choose the soundtrack, but I'm getting tired of sad.
Word tired needs to pop
Let
up.
heartbreak choose the soundtrack, but I'm getting tired of sad songs playing on.
Word songs when Derek is gunning, Chris needs to gun with him.
Let heartbreak choose the soundtrack, but I'm getting tired of sad songs playing on repeat.
Okay, that's plenty for the purpose of our demo. Now let's put all of them together and evaluate the blend and see if we need to adjust the blend a little bit.
'Cause I've let pain drive this car for way too long. And I've let heartbreak choose the soundtrack.
Okay, so I need on the first two words, Chris can come down, Afton can come up because I really want that bam. I want to hear a mixed trio on that first word.
'Cause I've let pain drive this car for way too long. And I've let heartbreak choose.
Okay, listening, I at this point is typically when I'm going to have things on an NS10, so it's really mid. I'm not going to be the big bottom end of the bass guitar, the crispy high end of the acoustic guitar, or the cymbals isn't affecting anything. It's the vocals are just right there in my face, and anything that's ugly is going to pop out. But I'm also going to get a real great blend. I'm going to listen at a low level, no hype. And then when I turn it up at the end, it's gonna be awesome. So anyway, I hope you guys learned something. Hope you enjoyed. This was a lot of fun for me, and be sure and comment below. Let us know, other videos you'd like to see me do. Other topics. Strings, brass, vocals, bass guitar, drums, whatever you want. Just let me know because I really put a lot of thought into doing these and getting content out there that you guys will enjoy. Okay, thanks for watching and happy mixing.